Good afternoon, one and all. We welcome you all to this webinar on case studies of Assam Company India resolution under IBC, organized by Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of ICAI. We have today with us CA Kannan Thiruvanganam ji and CA Dinesh Mundada ji. Mr. Kannan is insolvency professional who will be presenting the case study on the successful resolution of Assam Company India Limited under IBC, and Dinesh Mundada is also insolvency professional who will be moderating today's session. Friends, I am very happy to share that the case study series as initiated by the Committee on Successful Resolution cases under the IBC is being well appreciated by the professional for its learning value. Today's webinar is the 10th one in the series of case studies as conducted by the committee. It's been seen that the case studies always help us to understand the cases or complexities and the underlying aspect in resolving various issues. And every case study is a unique case study. The case study on Assam Company India Limited resolution under IBC is going to be presented by a resolution professional himself. The corporate data in the case is a tea producing company. Over realization was around 67% of the claims in this case. If we took at some of the statistics as far as the IBC is concerned, since the inception of the IBC code in December 2016, a total of 5636 CIRP commenced by the end of June 30th, 22. As per IBBI data, the code has rescued 517 corporate data as on June 22 through resolution plans. They owed to the extent of 7.67 lakh crores to the creditors under the code. The creditors recovered rupees 2.35 lakhs crore. Realization by the financial creditors in comparison to the claim is around 32.76%. With the the company, with the increased importance of IBC, the Committee on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of the ICAI has been taking several initiatives for the benefit of the members in the area. In the last few months, committee had set up group meetings and roundtable discussions jointly with IIPI to discuss on the proposed changes as per the various discussion papers, consultation papers on different topics brought out by the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India and Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and the suggestion thus prepared on the discussion paper have been submitted by the committee to the IBPI or to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The committee has already conducted 4 batches of the certificate course on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 so far, and the 3rd and 4th batch of the course was conducted in association with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. The 5th batch has already been announced and is going to commence from 7th of October 2022. Whoever is interested to get registered for the same may do so. The seats are filling at a very fast pace. The committee has also released 8 publications last year, which are easy to understand handbooks on the important topics under the IBC, so that it facilitates knowledge about a particular facet under IBC, its provisions, its applicability, and practical implications of the same. The committee has also brought out frequently asked questions on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, revised version 2022 in collaboration with the IBBI. And friends, let me tell you, this has unique feature of each FAQ is supported by 2 or 3 case studies, case law, where in brief the case law detail is given, and for detail link is also available. The committee also brings out IBC case law updates on a regular basis, covering important case analysis based on the decisions by the Supreme Court, High Court, NCLT, and NCLT on issues under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. And friends, today, as I told you, the case study which is going to be discussed is the Assam company. The corporate debtors, Assam Company India Limited, is a large tea producing company in the Assam. The company had a total data of around 1526 crore. Approximately, the CIRP under IBC was initiated by a financial creditor. The resolution plan took care of operational creditors, which included workmen and employees, approximately around 25,000 workers who got 100% of their admitted claim. The total claim realized was approximately 1,019 crore, which is around 67% realization. This is what is available to all of us, and we have taken all these figures which was published in the business standard. And what is the real fact? Mr. Kannan will be telling whether these facts are right or wrong. So Mr. Kannan will be discussing. Now let me introduce both the persons who are there today with us, Mr. Kannan and Mr. Dinesh Mundada. As far as CA Kannan Thiruvangadam is concerned, he is a chartered accountant having more than 30 years of experience. He has worked in various capacities in the companies of repute. He has other additional qualifications like ICMA, IC, ISA, ISA, and Six Sigma Black Belt, and has won many awards and accolades to his credit. And that is why he was a very good resolution professional too. Anybody who came with threat, he said that I am having Six Sigma belt, black belt, so I can handle you very carefully. He has succeeded in bringing values to the shareholders in CIRP and liquidation process during his tenure as IP, thus ensuring the livelihood of many workers and employees in the process. So friends, this is what about Mr. Kannan. Now I introduce CA Dinesh Mundra. He is a chartered accountant with more than 17 years of rich experience in both India as well as abroad in the multinational companies. And he is also an insolvency professional. In these 5 years, he has handled CIRP cases and voluntary liquidation under the IBC. He is also a practicing chartered accountant too, since approximately 12 years. He is also a special invitee to the Committee on the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code for this year. With this, I once again welcome all the members to this webinar and hand it over to S. Rita, who is the able secretary of the CIBC of ICAI. Thank you, friends, for giving me a patient listening, and we look forward for various suggestions from you that what should be there at the Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of ICAI, so we can accordingly provide the services to our stakeholder as well as to our members. With this, thank you all once again, and over to Rita, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman, sir, for your address and taking us through the various important initiatives undertaken by the committee, and especially enlightening us the importance of learning from case studies. Thanks indeed to you, sir. Now, I would request CA Dinesh Mundaraji, the moderator of today's session, to please give his initial remarks before the case study presentation. Over to you, Dinesh, sir.
Thank you, Ritaji. And thank you, Durgesh sir, for introducing. Okay. The greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it. Insolvency and bankruptcy cases are at times challenging to complete the assignment. I am sure that the resolution process of Assam Company India had many challenges, but our today's speaker, Mr. Kannan sir, has successfully completed it. Being myself an insolvency professional, I can mention that we all are fortunate enough to listen today's case study from Mr. Kannan sir, the source who himself handled this process as resolution professional. All members, please send your questions in chat box, which will be taken, at the end of the session. And now I request Kannan sir to enlighten us with the experience gained while handling this case study. So over to you, Kannan sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mundara. First of all, I would like to, good afternoon, friends. And I would like to extend my gratefulness to the Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for giving me this opportunity to share my small experience. Thank you very much. I am a qualified chartered accountant and a cost accountant with other degrees and diplomas associated with the commerce profession. I qualified in the year 1991 and my post-qualification experience started early 91-92. My professional career, spanning approximately 30 years, was equally divided in two parts, where in the first 15 years, I worked in various positions from junior to senior management in large private and public sector organizations. My next 15 years was in the practice as a chartered accountant in a mid-sized firm. These experiences equipped me with two relevant tools. Number one, corporate, where I learned administrative, people management, compliance skills, apart from in-depth experience of manufacturing and service industry. And second, client relationship and stakeholder management skills while I was practicing as a chartered accountant from the year 2008. I have briefly put forward the business segment of the corporate data, but before doing this, I would of course like to enlighten the participants. But before we do that, the business segment of the corporate data, that is Assam Company India Limited, was divided into two parts. One is tea. The tea segment consisted of the tea segment, which the corporate data had an industry presence since 1839. And the corporate data was the first company to produce tea in the world. So these were the accolades of the corporate data. It was the first tea plantation company in the world to be awarded a royal charter by the Queen of Victoria. It was the first company in the country to create a tea seed garden. It had 14 tea estates backed by state-of-art 14 factories spread over 14,000 hectares in the entire state of Assam. Entire state of Assam meaning Upper Assam, Middle Assam, as well as Lower Assam. It directly employed about 25,000 workers and 1,500 employees. The oil and gas division, the corporate data, that is the company, had a participating interest in 3 oil fields in the lucrative Assam Arakan Basin operated by Oil India Limited, a public sector undertaking. The reasons for the corporate data in coming into corporate insolvency resolution processes probably an incorrect decision of the erstwhile management in utilization of the funds from the core area of business, which is tea, to that of oil, which had a huge gestation period. Now, before I start to enlighten my learned friends, I would like to divide the entire presentation into 3 parts. The part 1 is the takeoff state, the part 2 is the steady state, and the part 3 is the conclusion state. any assignment, any assignment of corporate insolvency resolution process, when a resolution professional takes over as a resolution professional from the interim resolution professional, it is my experience that it is divided into these three main states. So now I would like to share with the viewers my experiences of the first assignment as a resolution professional. I qualified as an insolvency professional almost in the initial stages of enactment of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Though the code itself was a new one, due to my past experience, I felt that I can deliver what I am expected to do as a seasoned professional, putting in practice my expertise to achieve objectives for which the code was enacted. This was complemented by the sectoral and the financial expertise of the insolvency professional entity, that is IPE, which helped me immensely in my first assignment. I still remember the long wait that I had to experience after joining the insolvency professional entity in getting through my first assignment. After a series of interviews by a public sector bank, which was a lead in the consortium of lenders to the corporate debtor, I was appointed as a resolution professional on 12th of January 2018 by the adjudicating authority. The matter ended with a resolution on 20th September 2018. Friends, I will not delve upon the compliances of the code and other related corporate laws, as my friends and colleague chartered accountants as well as the viewers at large must be well aware of the same. I would rather, for the sake of practical outlook and collective learning from this session, for the benefit of one and all of us, would like to divide the experiences gathered by me during this corporate insolvency resolution process broadly into three parts. As I said, the part one is the takeoff state. I would call it like that. Part two as the steady state, and the part three as the conclusion state. Friends, I would divide the takeoff state into these primary focus areas. So the primary focus areas for me was, number one, taking over the process from the interim resolution professional. Number two, understand the corporate data and its operations. Number three, interact with the promoters, directors, key managerial personnel of the corporate data and field professionals. Number four, deployment of team in various locations of the operations of the corporate debtor, alongside fulfilling the responsibilities as enshrined in the code, its regulations, and various circulars issued by the regulator. Friends, I would now like to take you in detail about my experience in this takeoff state. Friends, before I begin to share my experiences in this part, I would like to say at this point of time, the code was comparatively new with not much of judicial pronouncements, and the regulators and the insolvency professional agencies guidelines, etc. As we know, friends, today we have a lot of judicial pronouncements to help us. The regulators are pretty proactive, and the insolvency professional agencies led by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has published many guidelines, and as Kabraji rightly told, has published FAQs also in addition, which has immensely helped each and every one of the professionals, including myself. But at that point of time, friends, I did not have much judicial pronouncements and the regulators and IPS guidelines. Therefore, my past experience spanning 3 decades as a chartered accountant, along with the 2 decades of financial and sectoral experience of my insolvency professional entity, came of immense help in dealing with the code, the complexities of managing and controlling a company having multiple operations in tea and oil and gas sectors spanning across multiple geographical locations. Friends, the tea division of the corporate debtor was initially owned by the family of the famous poet and Nobel laureate, the Rabindranath Tagore family. which had an industry presence. The corporate data had an industry presence from 1839, which I have already told. And it was the first company to produce tea and tea seed gardens in the world. I mean to say that it was an extremely reputed company. It was also the first tea plantation company in the world to be awarded the Royal Charter by Queen of Victoria herself. It had 14 tea estates equipped with 14 state-of-art factories spread around 14,000 hectares over a geographical area consisting of Upper, Middle, and Lower Assam. It directly employed about 25,000 unskilled employees and workers and around 1,500 permanent employees at the helm of its business. At the time of corporate insolvency resolution process, there were around 1,000 employees, but the corporate debtor in its tea estates had about 20,000 workmen. The corporate debtor was also a listed company. The corporate debtor also possessed interest in 3 oil blocks, again in the Assam, in the lucrative Assam-Arakan basin. The corporate debtor also had several subsidiaries even abroad. Though the corporate debtor was an old organization with immense amount of goodwill, the reason of facing CIRP, I would call it corporate insolvency resolution process as CIRP, was due to the fact of incorrect decision of the erstwhile management in utilizing the funds from the core area of business, which is tea, to that of oil, which had a huge gestation period. On taking over as a resolution professional, the fundamental premise on which I started was that I was in a fiduciary capacity holding the asset on behalf of the stakeholders who were like patients in an intensive care unit, looking forward to an experienced doctor to bring them out from the pitiable situation of the corporate debtor at the time of CIRP and to provide solace and long-term solution to the sufferings that they have undergone. The second premise, friends, that I assumed to myself was, I would not get any help, whether it is tangible or whatever, or support from any quarters, as the code was at its nascent stage and the code is only to be followed as a guideline as my outer boundary for my performance as a resolution professional. I also clearly understand, friends, that the administrative responsibilities of an RP, resolution professional, is not strictly a science where equations have to be put in play and the results will come out automatically, but more an art of management where administrative and technical skills of the resolution professional would have to be finely put to use so that the interplay of the objectives of the code, the experiences of the stakeholders and lenders at large with the help of adjudicating authority would yield the desired results. Friends, in the above premise, I spent my first few days in checking and understanding as to what the learned interim resolution professional did in his tenure from 26th October 2017 to 11th January 2018 in performing his duties as an interim resolution professional as laid down by the code. Apart from this, friends, the following salient actions were quickly undertaken by me and my team. 1. Collection and understanding of all documents from a learned friend, that is interim resolution professional. Number 2, completion of admission of claim left as provisional by the interim resolution professional. Number 3, additional understanding from interim resolution professional for preparation of information memorandum. Number 4, arrangement of interim finance, which was vital in keeping the corporate debtor alive at this stage. Number 5, appointment and liaison with various professionals. Number 6, managing and keeping control of the operations of the bank accounts, including incorporation of operation controls. Number 7, deployment of industry experts in vital locations and installations of the corporate data. Number 8, conducting meetings with the key managerial personnel to understand the complexities and operations of the corporate data. These were the prime focus area which I delved upon in the initial stage. That is part 1, that is takeoff state. Friends, I would like to point out here that the deployment of these professionals have immensely helped later on at the later part of the time, at the later part of the corporate insolvency resolution process, in a proper management and control, with an internal control, with a cost control, which had played immensely in reducing the cost, that is IRPC cost, that is the insolvency resolution process cost of the corporate data, of the matter at large. Therefore, friends, I would summarize the part 1, that is the takeoff state as a learning to all my friends who are listening to this particular, my experience on this corporate data. Friends, the learnings that I would like to summarize to all of you is the resolution professional in the first stage should focus to understand the corporate data and its operations, interact with the promoters, directors, key managerial personnel, and field professionals, deployment of team in various locations of the operations of the corporate data, alongside, which is very important, friends, alongside fulfilling the responsibilities as enshrined in the code, its regulations, and various circulars issued by the regulator. So with this, friends, I would like to carry on. Friends, my next part or the next slide is part 2, the steady state, as I call it. This is a very, very, very important. I would like to reiterate the importance of the state, because in future, this will play an extremely important role, friends. The RP in the state has to undertake the most difficult part in the process to keep the concern as a going concern, which is a broad term encompassing various aspects in testing its administrative, technical, liaison, and industry skills. This is an extremely important stage which will result in fetching good value to the stakeholders and the corporate data, and simultaneously ensure livelihood for the innumerable number of workers who do not understand what is insolvency and bankruptcy code, but understands that some process of the government of India has yielded results which they and their families look forward so earnestly. So friends, this consists of litigations. This state consists of preservation and protection of assets. Shortage of funds for keeping the corporate data as a going concern is to be addressed. Alignment to the code vis-a-vis the commercial wisdom has to be seen by the resolution professional. Employee and worker morale has to be kept at an appropriate level so that the desired results can be achieved by the resolution professional. Seasonal nature of the corporate data is always a challenge in agri-based industry like Assam company. Pressure from government authorities has to be handled by the resolution professional. Erratic cash flow has to be handled by way of infusion of interim finance. And of course, we have to face, all of us had to face a humongous amount of operational challenges. So in this respect, friends, I would like to share my small experience. So friends, apart from the duties enshrined in the code, like preparation of information memorandum, convening meetings with the committee of creditors, and getting the ratification and approval, instituting valuation, claim processing and its related area of operations and its related activities, publication of expression of interest, etc., I came across many challenges in managing and controlling the corporate data. I would like to share some of the important challenges, friends, as otherwise, because of the limitation of time, I would not be able to share all of them. So some of the important challenges, friends, along with the actions taken to resolve the same are, or I will discuss that. But before that, I would like to state that the industry of the corporate data was an agro-based industry, heavily dependent on the climatic cycle. The nature of industry was such that the workmen had to be given free medicines, seasonal bonuses had to be given, weekly rations to their family and themselves. School bus had to be provided. It was already there, but it had ceased operation for 4 to 5 years before because of the pitiable state of the corporate debtor. Fees and other related amenities to the children of the tea garden workers had to be provided, where average family size is about 4 to 5 members, and other life protecting gears so that the workers can work in the fields. Friends, the workmen belonged to the same village of the tea estate, where there were no strict geographical demarcations between the dwelling place and the place where the produce grows. Taking advantage of this aspect, I deployed the same village heads as security for that tea estate, which eliminated the cost of security as well as infused a sense of ownership to the workmen. In the above background, friends, the major challenges faced by me while I was a resolution professional while managing and controlling the corporate data are as under. Number one, I faced an immense amount of shortage of funds for keeping the CD corporate data as a going concern. Since the corporate data's finances were already stressed due to short supply of essential workers, essential items, the workers resorted to frequent riots and arson, deeming the RP as the new owner, and sometimes they burnt the effigy of the RP in the villages, and through the union leaders who are politically affiliated, threatened the RP to provide essential supplies like medicines to hospitals and ration. Some of them threatened to commit even suicide as well and lay the blame entirely on the RP. Productivity, which was already low, further deteriorated as workers felt that another individual took over their century-old company where 2 to 3 generations of the workers have worked and made that living. Myself and my team undertook proactive meetings with the local labor commissioners, the local MLAs of the area, local authorities, and government of Assam to explain the situation of the undergoing CIRP, and that very soon fruitful result is expected, which will save not only the employees and workers, but will provide permanency to their situation. In this regard, friends, with much difficulty, I would like to state that I could raise a substantial amount as interim finance, which could alleviate the payment of labor dues, rations, and essential supplies. Herein, friends, the vast experience of the insolvency professional entity had come to a great rescue for myself as well as to the process in helping me in raising interim finance, where the company is already stressed, the financial creditors were unwilling to provide, but despite that, we persuaded them to provide, and ultimately it helped the process. Second, friends, the seasonal nature of the business of the corporate data was the second challenge that I faced. Due to the seasonal nature of the business of the corporate data, RP had to undergo cash flow problems, and in the sowing season, the essential raw materials like pesticides, weedicides, and fertilizers were not provided in time to the fields, which affected the growth of the produce. The RP's local experts deployed in the gardens undertook aggressive and proactive liaison with various suppliers and obtained acceptable credits, thereby ensuring supplies to the extent possible. Post the above implementations, production of tea, which was the main product, production of tea was regularized and the same was sent to the markets for sale. Since there was a cash crunch, RP took a decision to sell through local brokers so that corporate debtor could manage immediate payment without compromising the sale rate, instead of sending the entire tea stock to auctions. That would have delayed the process. This also helped in not utilizing the entire sanctioned interim finance, thereby saving costs. Because friends, if the sanctioned limit is say 100, we would, as an RP, we have to be judicious in utilization, because every amount that is being utilized is having a carrying cost of interest, which will again inflate the insolvency resolution process cost. Friends, it is pertinent to note that the resolution professional, with his efforts, could ensure an increase in the sale price of tea in comparison to the previous year of the CIRP, which 2017, which many of my friends have already done in their own area of operations. But I am trying to cite over here that certain actions, certain proactive actions have yielded this kind of result. My third challenge, friends, was the pressure from government authorities due to labor intensiveness of the industry. Friends, I am not blaming any authority, but what I am trying to highlight to my friends over here, who are many of them are budding, professionals who have joined this insolvency and bankruptcy code new, has to understand that we have to undergo so much of pressure. That is my only intent in disseminating this information to all of you. Frequently, friends, the government of Assam summoned me in person and in presence of the Chief Secretary and the Minister of Labour of Government of Assam, often issued warnings to me, like filing FIR against the RP in local Thana if RP fails to keep up the regular ration supplies, pay the weekly wages on time, seasonal bonus to the workers, etc. The government authorities clearly told me that India is a welfare state and they are concerned about the state of labor, and the RP as the new owner, quote unquote friends, as the new owner of the company is responsible for the day-to-day operations. I explained the newly enacted code to the government authorities at that point of time, and that he is in the process of raising interim finance, his dependency on the committee of creditors, and his fiduciary capacity in which he is operating. Friends, I tried to persuade the government authorities to my best of ability that I am not the owner, but I am in a fiduciary capacity appointed by adjudicating authority. My next challenge, friends, is the erratic cash flow. Extreme paucity of funds, erratic cash flow compounded RP's challenges in timely payment to suppliers, salaries and wages to employees, etc. I undertook several measures to obtain pending compensation from Oil India Limited and other government authorities who owed compensation to the corporate debtor for erstwhile acquisition of its garden areas and acquisition by local district authorities in the river banks of Brahmaputra and in construction of dikes and embankments. This resulted in obtaining compensations from the government authorities, which immensely helped the operations in terms of additional cash flow and did not put pressure on the stakeholders by way of additional interim finance, which would have impacted the final share on resolution. My next challenge, friends, was a huge challenge, which was a challenge I would name it as an operational challenge. Since the corporate debtor was undergoing CIRP, the owners of the rented properties of the offices of the corporate debtor, including the operational headquarters at Kolkata, where the key managerial personnel were working, forced the RP to vacate their premises, which RP had to deal with as per the code. My next challenge was, since the corporate debtor had processing units, supply of electricity, gas, and water was of great importance in keeping up with the production. As there was strain on the cash flow, the State Electricity Board of Assam frequently resorted to disconnection, which had to be dealt with by me. It may be noted, friends, that not much of judicial pronouncements existed at that point of time in the beginning of 2018 that RP could take advantage of. My next challenge, friends, was the challenge to the process itself. The challenges that I faced in the process are, sometimes I found that the interest rates in claims by various unsecured creditors were extremely high as compared to normal rates of interest. Due to cash flow problems, the corporate debtor had resorted to borrowings from non-banking financial companies and local money lenders. Because, friends, the way that the corporate debtor had operated in the past was they used to take money from the local money lenders at an exorbitant rate of interest, which in our code we call it as extortionate rate. In many cases, friends, the RP had to reject the claims or admit partially to operational creditors since the same was not recorded in corporate debtors' books. Since RP had to resort to best judgment estimates as per available records, the dissatisfied operational creditors often resorted to complaints with the regulator and in various forums of NCLT, adjudicating authority, and the Honorable National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. RP had to address these issues too and had to file various replies in adjudicating authority when these lenders resorted to challenging the claim admission of the resolution professional. At this time, it was not an established principle that RP cannot adjudicate on the claims. What I wanted to say, friends, that point of time when I operated as a resolution professional, there were not much of judicial pronouncements saying that no, you are not an adjudicator. You have to simply receive and collate the claims. My next challenge, friends, that with managing the employees and worker morale and obtaining their support, which was pivotal at that point of time. The morale of the employees and workers were low for the past few years prior to insolvency commencement date, and frequently, friends, the workers and employees were irate, hurling various abuses to the RP and his team, including the auditors deployed at the site, for not giving them the increment which they deserve. At the time of taking over as RP, friends, 3 to 4 months salaries were due to workers and employees, which had to be quickly redressed so that the going concern is kept alive. Therefore, friends, myself and my team resorted to various meetings with the workers in the field, as well as in the offices to boost up morale. It is pertinent to mention that post-resolution, many of the employees remarked in various conversations that the CIRP was the best period in the past 4 to 5 years of operation. My next important challenge, friends, was in the form of complaints and threats. I'm sure, friends, that many of my professional brothers here, or brothers and sisters here, as well as many of the non-insolvency professionals also would have faced. But as an insolvency professional, we are prone to facing this kind of challenge more than any other professions. Therefore, friends, I faced threats and complaints from various angles, various dissatisfied stakeholders and various, forums, etc. So therefore, I received various anonymous complaints and threat letters accusing me and my team of imaginary malpractices, marking a copy from top to bottom of various government authorities. Therefore, RP and his team had to spend substantial time in replying to these sometimes most frivolous and sometimes malicious complaints. My next challenge, friends, was that sometimes the resolution professional have to be in crossroads with the stakeholders. Stakeholders meaning banks and financial institutions, stakeholders meaning employees, stakeholders meaning workers, stakeholders meaning everyone who come in contact with the resolution professional. So therefore, I had to work frequently in crossroads to the extent that on one hand, I had to strictly comply with the code, regulations, circulars, and other compliances. But also, I had to comply. I had to liaise with various stakeholders for meeting their practical demands, particularly of COC members and other stakeholders. Friends, my next challenge was in the form of litigations. In addition to my daunting task of managing the concern as a going concern, external litigations by unsatisfied stakeholders had to be faced in various courts, including NCLT, NCLAT, and various forums. The next challenge, friends, was in the form of maximizing the sale realization and alignment to the code, code meaning insolvency and bankruptcy code, vis-a-vis the commercial wisdom of the stakeholders. When the expression of interest were received, the ultimate successful resolution applicant saw value in the company much more than the bidders and approached the resolution professional in the midway with a proposal. And friends, as all of you might be appreciating, that now it is an established principle that the resolution professional, being an officer of the court, more so, he has to be in compliance with the code. Therefore, I did not have much choice, so I was thinking what to do. As also many other bidders friends who did not qualify in the eligibility criteria also wanted to participate as they saw value in the company and the way it's being run. And some of the dissatisfied prospective resolution applicants even had approached to various forums, NCLT, NCLAT, etc. Some of the case laws are there, which is very well there in judicial pronouncements, friends. Therefore, I had to finely balance between the maximizing the sale realization and the alignment of the code vis-a-vis keeping in view the commercial wisdom of the stakeholder, commercial wisdom of the COC, which is now an established principle. Though the resolution professional was constrained at that time with the existing code, I took proactive measures in discussing the commercial wisdom aspect of the COC, who in turn helped me immensely in the process to approach the adjudicating authority to finally help the newly entered prospective resolution applicant to submit their EUI and resolution plan, and the rest is history, my friends. I could maximize the value of the stakeholders. Therefore, friends, in this very important state that I call it as a steady state, I would like to summarize the learnings to my friends as follows. That the RP has to undertake the most difficult part in the process to keep the concern as a going concern, which is a very broad term encompassing various aspects in testing the RP's administrative, technical, liaison, and industrial skills. This is a very important stage which will result in fetching good value to the stakeholders and the corporate data, and simultaneously, friends, this will ensure livelihood for the innumerable number of workers who do not understand the code, as I told earlier, but understand that some process has yielded results which they and their families look forward to. My last part, friends, part 3, that I call it as a conclusion state, is that it is on the screen. Just a summary. Date of insolvency commencement was on 26th October 2017. The date of approval of the resolution plan by the adjudicating authority was on 20th September 2018. the admission of claims was to the tune of 1,526.95 crores. The financial creditors claim out of these was 1,379.17 crore, which was divided into two parts, that is secured and unsecured. Secured financial creditors consisted of 1,031.46 crores and unsecured financial creditors was 347.71 crores. The operational creditors claim was 147.78 crores, which I divided into two parts, workman and employee consisting of 116.60 crores and other operational creditors including statutory dues was 31.18 crores. The liquidation value of the corporate debtor was 359.91 crores. So therefore, friends, the realization by the stakeholders in this resolution was approximately 3 times the liquidation value. The amount realized by the financial creditors, friends, was 884 crores, out of which the secured financial creditors realized 834. Therefore, the realization percentage was 80.85% and unsecured financial creditors was 50 crore. Therefore, realization percentage was 14.38%. Friends, I would like to state one point here, that this secured financial creditors and unsecured financial creditors had a large amount of interest component. Therefore, if at all the system or ourselves view this as a resolution for the principal amount, then friends, this will exceed much past 100%. However, our code does not allow us to distinguish between principal and interest. Therefore, we would see that the realization percentage is 80.85% for secured and for unsecured it is 14.38%. The amount realized by workmen and employee friends was 116.60%, 60 crores, I'm sorry. That means a realization of 100%. And the other operational creditors, including statutory dues, had a realization of 60.71%. In fact, there is an additional realization even to equity shareholders, friends, that is to the tune of 1.82 crores. Therefore, I'm sorry, this process took care of the maximization of interest of the stakeholders as well as to the corporate debtor, and in my opinion, friends, it has achieved the objectives of the code. It has achieved the BLRC recommendation, and it has also achieved the original objective of the Government of India in enacting this code. Therefore, friends, I would like to mention a few points over here at this stage, that the corporate debtor saw a measurable resolution and secured the future of approximately 26,000 workers and their families, including several employees who otherwise were facing a bleak future under the erstwhile management. It is very important to state here, friends, that although resolution of the corporate debtor is the paramount importance in CARP, and time and again, various adjudicating authority and the honorable courts have reiterated that a CARP is not a recovery process, it is a resolution process. And this means that we have to provide the livelihood back to the employees who otherwise have nothing to look forward to. Number two, the 200 years old goodwill of the corporate debtor was kept intact, including the commercial ecosystem of innumerable number of suppliers and stakeholders who are dependent on the corporate debtor's business, which was the largest corporation in private sector in the remote area of Northeast. The next one, friends, is that the secured creditors, as I have already told, realized about 81%. The workmen and employees realized 100%. And the unsecured creditors realized about 14.38, 15%. And the operational creditors realized about 61%. The resolved value is more than the liquidation value by 3 times, thereby fulfilling the objectives of the IBC, which I have already told, of maximization of the value of the corporate debtor. Friends, I have summarized the learnings from part 1, part 2, and part 3 over here. The learnings and takeaways from the processes: put to use your experience in the art of administration for running the corporate data as a deemed entrepreneur, which I feel that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, being all of us being a chartered accountant, we are grateful to the Institute as well in imparting this education and experience in us in the art of administration, because we are not only technical experts, but we have to be an expert in as a good administrator also. So therefore, put to use our experiences in the art of administration for running the corporate as a deemed entrepreneur. This is a very important step, because only this will maximize the value of the corporate data. Second is that the code is a guide and not the final boundary. Friends, I am not telling that we can overwrite the code, not at all. But we have to assume that code cannot spell everything of what is there in the practicality. Therefore, it is not it is a guide. We have to take it as a guide. We have to 100% comply with it, but see to it that there are practical mechanisms like adjudicating authority who can advise and approve the practical interpretation of the statutes. Friends, value maximization is through protection of the corporate debtor at the time of limitations of cash flow and other challenges. Needless to reiterate, friend, protection and preservation is our duty, but we have to do it in letter and spirit, friends, so that there is maximization. RP has to continuously challenge the intertwining aspect of the commercial wisdom with what is allowed by the code and its objectives. Friends, we all have to understand that the lenders have burnt their hands very badly, and they have in them a huge commercial wisdom spanning more than 100 years of banking wisdom, etc. Therefore, we need to continuously intertwine the aspect of commercial wisdom of the financial institutions, of the lenders, with that of the code and its objective to achieve its real objectives. Documenting, friends, is a very important aspect which our institute also teaches us at every point. Documenting every aspect of the decisions taken during the process by the RP by way of contemporaneous office note, so that the compliances, good faith, and transparency of the resolution professional may be substantiated in future. Every CIRP, friends, is unique, as our Mr. Kabra in the initial remarks had correctly spelled out, that every CIRP is unique with respect to the complexities and challenges of the corporate debtor, and the RP should not assume a standard checklist nor try to blindly copy the procedure adopted by other professionals. Friends, I am not telling we should not follow the guidelines of the other professionals. We should. But what I am trying to reiterate, friends, in my small way of understanding and wisdom that I possess, that every CIRP is unique with respect to the complexities and challenges. Therefore, please address that separately. We cannot have a standard checklist, friends. It is extremely vital and important that the committee of creditors, being one of the pillars of the process, must be proactive, friends, fast in decision making, and help the RP to achieve the objectives of the code, and in turn, the objectives will be achieved for them too in an appropriate resolution. This is very important, friends, and I would earnestly request the committee of IBC of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, who has already taken a lot of proactive steps in this regard, take further proactive steps so that this vital aspect, an important aspect, that COC being one of the pillars of the process, the proactiveness of them and the decision-making process of them will help them immensely. Friends, a will of propriety, therefore, in control of cost and spending with utmost judiciousness, so that the already stressed corporate debtor is not burdened further. This is a very important aspect, friends. And last, I would end my sharing of the experience with the permission of Mr. Mundada, I would end it with only a small note on my part that our wisdom of the country has time and again reiterated the principle, the philosophy that we all have a right to perform your duties, perform one's duties, but we are not entitled to the fruits of our actions. Therefore, we should never consider ourselves to be the cause of the results of our activities, nor be attached to inaction, which is a very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Karamanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalate turbu mate sangos kata karmani. So therefore, I would end with it. End with this particular shloka of the Holy Bhagavad Gita, friends. In addition, I would also tell my friends two learnings that is very important for a resolution professional to keep in mind. The first one is we must always consider ourselves as Caesar's wife, who is always above suspicion, that we have to always consider. And ignorance of law is no excuse, which we all know, friends. All our learned friends knows about this. Therefore, friends, all of the achievements, whatever little achievements is there that I have cited to my friends, would have been impossible without the active participation and the help of my insolvency professional entity to which I am always grateful, my team members to which I am ever grateful, the committee of creditor members who have helped me in each and every aspect in giving them their wisdom, the COC, the experts who have played a vital role in all aspects, including legal, administrative, license and compliance. I would take, friends, every opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks to each one of them who gave me immense support and comfort during these challenging and very stressful times in the journey of the successful resolution. Thank you very much, friends. Over to Mr. Mundada.
Thank you, sir. Before I could take the questions what we received, Mr. Kannan sir, I was hearing very peacefully, and let me tell you that the entire process what you explained, okay, though you said it in very half sentence that you received a challenges like there are complaints in the police, and you just stayed there and you just simply went on. Trust me, I have been handling few cases, and I could imagine that what pain you must have undergone while facing this kind of challenges, and challenges facing by the professionals, by the COC, and from the down laborers, two are totally different. So the entire the case you explained in such a fantastic way. So thank you very much, and you really justified and this thing. And I am surprised personally that this was your first case as a RP, and you successfully could give 81% to the secured creditor, 14 odd percentage to the unsecured creditor, then 100% to the laborers, worksmen. I'm sure whomsoever has filed the complaint, they must have regretted it later that ye kya kar diya. Okay, and another the good to see that 61% almost to the operational creditor, and over and above that, the whole overall objective of the IBC that you could give some money to the equity shareholder, which is the remotest possibility. Practically what I could see, though the section 53 and all whatever they say and mentions and all. Indeed, great pleasure for me to hear you, and thank you very much. So now I'll just read, some of the questions what I received, through, committee. So the question number 1, Kannan sir, one of the big challenge in CRP is managing the affair of the company. How do you think a resolution professional can work out ways or methods in managing such affairs of the company?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And Mr. Mundada, I will be very glad to answer any number of questions and all questions, provided you allow me and the time permits. So in managing the concern as a going concern, I had elaborated in detail. That is in my part 2. That is we have to make all endeavors to see within the limitations of law, within the limitations of our expertise and capabilities, that we have to somehow ensure that is not a science, but it is an art, that we have to ensure through the corporate data, through motivating the corporate data's employees, through motivating the system as a whole, that somehow the corporate data has to be continued as a going concern. Because friends, that friend whomsoever has addressed this question to me, I would like to say that the corporate data which is running will at any point of time will fetch more value than the corporate data which is not running. So we have to make all endeavor to keep the corporate data as a going concern.
Okay, indeed, great. Another question what we have, and probably, though as on today, this question or the bankers or the COCs are very well known to the IBCs and all, but back in 2017, and therefore this question is quite valid. What are the challenges in availing the interim finance during the CIRP?
Yeah, this is a very valid and a very vital and a very beautiful question in the context of insolvency and bankruptcy code, because raising interim finance in itself is a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge in the process. The challenges are because the existing committee of creditors who are mainly bankers and the non-banking financial companies and the financial institutions, they have already burnt their fingers. So therefore, they would be the last person who would really be motivated to finance it. Probably they would look forward to a resolution by financing it. But that much of wisdom, that much of propriety, that much of hierarchical approvals, proactive approvals is not very practical in today's banking industry, at least. Therefore, it is a huge challenge. It is a huge challenge to the resolution professional. However, sir, here I would like to state that here our experience as a finance professional, our experience, this insolvency professional entity to which we are attached, their expertise as a financial service provider would be of immense help, and and only this will redress the situation. Only one word of caution and advice to the friend who asked this question and to the fraternity, that we have to keep the cost to the very minimum. We have to make endeavor. It is not that we are raising again interim finance at an extortionate rate of interest. We have to see that the interest rates raised or interest rates charged by the providers are quite reasonable, so that it doesn't put much pressure on the IRPC cost and the stakeholders. This is my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next question is about the going concern. So though you had mentioned, that in this particular case, you had increased the sales price in order to keep it going concern to, manage the fund and all. Okay. Despite of several challenges and 3 to 4 months dues and all. So now let me read the wording of the question what we received, that how you manage the shortage of funds to keep corporate data as a going concern during CIRP.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. This is on my steady state, as I would call it again, but this is a very good question. See, the first and foremost thing what I did was to see that the operations of the corporate data are to some extent brought back to the rail, so that if the operations of the corporate data are again somewhat back to the previous capacity utilization, then to that extent there will be some generation of the cash flow. That is point number one. Point number two, we have to tune our sale. See, typically a manufacturing company will have production units as well as sale units, right? So therefore, what we have to do is we have to tune our selling area to such an extent that we do not go for much of credit period, because the credit period during the normal business cycle of the company or the corporate data will be different. And the credit cycle at the time when you are running the CIRP process is very different. Okay, you need quick cash flow over there. So what I did was I attuned my sale and the production to such an extent that somewhat the cash flow was ensured. This is number two. Number three, Mr. Mundada, I would like to say that my team consisting of expert chartered accountants and expert professionals, they actually studied the books of accounts and studied the operations of the corporate data to some extent and found that there are many receivables by the company which can be easily received, but there was nobody in the company who could proactively follow up and receive these dues. Okay, and this kind of trigger also came from the committee of creditors who were the bankers to the corporate data. Therefore, what I did, I focused my attention in realizing these dues, which helped me immensely in mitigating the cash flow, cash crunch problem. Therefore, summarizing, friends, what I would like to advise to my friends over here and to the person who had questioned this, that we have to take proactive practical steps so that apart from interim finance must be the last resort. Apart from this, from the operations, if we can ensure the cash flow, it would be my first take. Thank you.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Now, next question is basically, more in the general nature. I'll read. Sir, could you please enlighten us with the difference in challenges in the CRP process? One, where the corporate data is a going concern and where the corporate data has no operation for the last few years. Number two, where the COC is constituted with FCs in the normal scenario and where the COC is constituted without being FCs, only with the OC. So basically there are two different questions over here. So you want me to repeat the first one?
No, I have understood and you were very clear on that, Mr. Mundada. Straight away, I will answer this question. First of all, friend, whomsoever has addressed this question, see, you had cited that in case where the financial creditors are constituting the committee of creditors, there you are assuming that they will come forward in providing you with a support of going concern, right? That is what was the question, Mr. Mundada. But yes, actually, I would address straight away like this, Mr. Mundada, that in both the scenarios, the RP has to follow the duty exactly in a similar manner, and there is absolutely no difference between the two. There is absolutely no difference between the two. So therefore, you have the same assumption, you have the same steps to be followed in keeping the concern as a going concern. Now, as I could understand, if it is not a going concern, that was also a question, that correct, if it is not a going concern, then how do we address it in case COC is there and in case we constitute the COC with the operational creditor, right? So in case of a non-going concern, friend, it will be quite difficult for us. It is a very challenging situation because in that eventuality, the probability of resolution plan coming in during CARP will be a little, on a lower side, unless people have some utility for the assets itself, because some of the assets, apart from the production facility, may consist of some land or some other land parcels, etc., which may be perceptibly be useful to the prospective resolution applicant. So in that eventuality, friend, what we have to do is we have to encase our information memorandum in such a manner that we project the intrinsic worth of the corporate data to the prospective buyers. And once we succeed in doing that, I am sure that you will be succeeding both if it is not a running concern as well as if it is a running concern. This is point number one. Point number two, as far as I am, my opinion goes that if the COC is constituted only of an operational creditor, in no way it is different, because they are also stakeholders and you have to follow the same steps, you have to follow the same advertisements, you have to follow the same procedure in which you advertise the corporate data as a and why the corporate data went into an ongoing concern. These are the reasons for which it has not gone, and therefore it is not that if you purchase and run the concern as a going concern, it's going to fail. Nothing of that sort. You have to, send that kind of, confidence among the buyers.
You are bang on, and probably to the win. I am RP where there is no FC. Okay, so I constituted the same, and what you rightly said, it follows the same process. What if the constituted with FC or with OC. But the challenges you rightly mentioned it that there are no assets. The company is closed since few years and to carrying out, and those stakeholders are basically do not show the interest and do not contribute, and
Yes.
that is the more challenging to take it forward. At
Yes.
times, the preparation of IM itself is becoming challenging.
Yes.
So one has to take and while you are being explaining during your study and concluding part, you said it that the entire code is a framework. So basically, you have to, as RP, IRP, you have to take your own call and see that you are working within the bond, this framework. So
Yes.
the decisions you have to take. So I think that answers the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next interesting question is, so this portion again has in 3 parts, but the first part is, what are the 3 main ingredients, the three main pre-existing conditions which could show that this company can be revived or it will be liquidated?
Okay. So the 3 conditions, as per me, the first condition that you have to first of all find out that what is the intrinsic worth of that particular company. Okay. Now, intrinsic worth may be in terms of the employees, okay, and the skilled workers, because you see in some sectors like engineering, procurement company, EPC company, or service industry, the human resources forms the basis, basic strength of that particular company. So I would advocate that first you analyze whether there is some intrinsic worth of the employees or the employed by the corporate data. This is point number 1. Number 2, given the present situation, whether you have to analyze whether the product or the services of the corporate data has become obsolete or it does not address, because many times, Mr. Mundada, that it so happens, like the product itself has slowly become obsolete with the efflux of time. Therefore, we have to find out, because there we cannot do anything. Because I have been in a liquidator to one of the corporate data. I can give with an example, whose product had become obsolete. So what you can do with the intrinsic worth or with whatever the strengths of the corporate data, also the product itself goes out of the market or something like that, not much can be done in finding out the strength in order to market the corporate data. This is number 2. And friends, I think the most important part of it, that you please see whether it is an actual de facto business failure or not. That is the most important part of it. If it is a business failure, then I am sure that you will be able to catch hold of it and able to portray to your prospective resolution applicants that, see, this is only a business failure. Some sort of infighting had happened between the, promoters and their families, which most of the time it happens. So what happens is you have to find out that reason also. So in my opinion, Mr. Mundada, these are the 3 things which an RP or IRP needs to study and in order to succeed.
Perfectly well answered, sir. The second part of the, from the same question, that it was indicated that entering total new area of business by corporate data, which was the long gestation period, which eroded the going concern status of the corporate data. Please indicate what action you could take to make the promoter.
To beat the promoter or
basically, probably the question says that the company is going into the new segment and
yes,
which has a long gestation. So
yes.
Due to the money has been spent a lot and it eroded the going concern status because of the net worth of the company gone negative. So now, how could you find a new buyer? Probably the question. The new promoter probably here the new buyer. Maybe.
Okay. Got it. It is a very good question, I would say. After Mr. Mundada explained it so beautifully, so well, I would like to say over here, actually, the very reason being, this particular company, which was such an old company with such an amount of goodwill and almost a monopoly, and the first company who was in the tea sector, okay, probably their diversification into the oil area, I would like to say that the promoters had taken, I'm sure that they had taken a conscious call, depending upon various circumstances that prevailed in their mind, which I will not dwell upon. But then I would like to say, in my wisdom, in my commercial and financial wisdom, that call was taken wrongly. Therefore, what I did was, as soon as I took over the company in the capacity of resolution professional, and I found that the Oil India Limited had given some interest, PI, which we call it as, prospective interest, whatever that the corporate debtor enjoyed. I tried to ask them whether what is the probability that the new buyer would be able to restart, this oil drilling operation. Okay, then I came to know that there are so many developments that has happened after the corporate debtor had obtained PI from this, from these oil wells from Oil India Limited. They had gone to the Petroleum Ministry, and then, so many developments was there. And then the government of India decided that they will not be giving, this kind of oil drilling activities to the private sector. Okay, so with all these information, I had approached the prospective buyers. But I would like to say one thing, Mr. Mundada, that this played a very pivotal role in the present resolution, successful resolution applicant, who saw value there also, and probably that person was confident in getting the license and restarting the company, and that would have been fantastic in terms of finances, in terms of his expectation. If he had invested some amount of money, he had expected a huge return on investment on that. So therefore, this particular way of projecting or prospecting to the prospective resolution applicant had helped me in maximizing and in bringing the successful resolution applicant.
Good. Well said, sir. Well said. So next question, based on the single entry system, sorry to conclude. So the question is, how do you think the importance of cooperation of erstwhile promoter of the company during CIRP?
Sir, I would like to share my experience, and in respect of this particular, matter of Assam company. Actually, I had a good amount of cooperation from the employees of the corporate debtor, no doubt on that. I would like also to say that the company was almost not promoter driven, sir, but it was, professionally managed. Okay. It had eminent chartered accountants who were in helm of affairs of the company, like CFO, etc. It had, lot of tea garden experts, who were trained under the British legacy. Okay, so and it is a very specific way of service, which is not very widely known, other than what we call it as North Indian Production Division of Assam, West Bengal, Northern Bengal, etc., and South Indian Production Division, consisting of some amount of Kerala, Tamil Nadu border, etc. Okay, it's a very what I wanted to say, this is a very special area. Okay, but I was very fortunate that all the 14 tea gardens were managed by some of these experts. If not 14, then at least 6 or 7. So that was it was a professionally managed company. So not much of help of promoters was actually required by me. However, I would like to mention here to my friends over here, my professional friends, that upon taking over as a resolution professional, the interaction with the promoter, the help, the proactive help of the promoter, etc., had stopped, and I had to run the corporate debtor as an entrepreneur.
Correct.
So that is my, whole takeoff. Yes.
So that is the reason I said that the importance of the erstwhile promoter is like a single entry system. So if you receive their cooperation, it is a double entry system. If you don't, then basically you will have to appoint a forensic auditor, transaction auditor, and try and find the premise on which all these things happen. Yes.
So, Mr. Mundada, here I would like to reiterate only one point to you, whatever you said, that the help of the promoter, the cooperation of the promoter, according to me, Mr. Mundada, is most important in running the concern as a going concern. They might not help you. They probably might not. The employees will help you. The key managerial personnel, actually de facto who are running the company, will help you. But the promoters per se, please don't have any expectations at large.
Absolutely right, sir. Absolutely right. I agree with that. So next question is how to deal with creditors who could not submit their claim within the time limit. General question.
Yeah, it is a general question, but this question is of great importance, I feel.
Correct.
And I really appreciate the person who has raised this question, because Mr. Muntada, we face this on a day-to-day basis in all our cases. Okay.
In all our cases.
Yes. Earlier, earlier we did not have so much of clarity. However, what myself and my team members had taken a decision at that point of time, that we strictly went by the code and regulation, that if a claimant submits the claim within the time period allowed, we admit that. Or if the claimant submits it but does not submit the documents within the time period, that we had admitted. But the claimant who had not submitted within the time frame, we politely tell them that please come with the approval of adjudicating authority, because the resolution professional is only eligible to collect and collate the claim, and he is not an authority who can waive off the time limit. Okay, as we can also take the help of regulation 35 also, which clearly says that we have to go to adjudicating authority. We have to just find out the avoidance, but for the purposes of adjudicating on the avoidance, we have to approach the adjudicating authority. We are not the adjudicators, right? So similarly, for waiving of the time period, for condonation of delay, in all cases, we had advised the claimants who could not lay the claim within the time period to approach the adjudicating authority.
And you are absolutely right. And it is all based on the quantum of the claim. So they should definitely undergo that process of adjudicating authority to get the approval.
Yes. Here, Mr. Mundada, only one thing that I would like to add on, that now it is very clear after the 6th September Supreme Court order that the period of submission of claim is only directory and it is not mandatory. Therefore, earlier when we used to tell the claimants that you go and obtain the condonation, and the condonation used to be rightly given by the adjudicating authority, was already an established principle.
Correct. So beyond 90 days, one should go approach the NCLT.
Yes.
So the third question is, though we have already answered, but I will still read the question.
Sure.
We have the time, and I'm taking the liberty of time and your time.
As much as
So what strategies needs to be undertaken by RP to maintain the going concern status?
The strategy, I would like to say, I have already given my experience, but the most important strategy that you have to maintain is, number one, is that you have to boost up the morale of the existing. See, one thing I would like to share, Mr. Mundada, we all have to understand as resolution professionals that we have to work through the corporate data's help only. We cannot independently run an organization, whether the organization is small or whether the organization is big. You have to understand, one has to understand that we are not that experienced in that field, or we are not experienced just like the key managerial personnel of the corporate data. Therefore, it is my advice that you need to take the help of the employees of the corporate data, and we have to keep the morale. We have to keep, for example, in the typical case of Assam company, it was an agrarian-based industry. So without the help of the workers, how will you go to the agricultural fields and sow the seeds of the produce? We cannot do it. Therefore, first and foremost is we have to boost up the morale of the employees and workers. That is point number one. Point number two, we have to have proactive meetings, weekly meeting, or fortnightly meeting, or whatever, depending upon the industry. We have to interact with each and every key managerial personnel to understand. Number three, we have to spend a substantial amount of time in understanding the business itself. The business may be in various industry. It may be in steel production. It may be a EPC company. It may be a tea company. It may be in the service industry. Therefore, an RP will do well to understand the industry. And with that understanding, you need to interact with the corporate data. The fourth most important part is you, if possible, if your finances provide, if at all, if you succeed in obtaining the approval of the committee of creditors, then please, friends, please engage professionals Definitely, because only we are not experts. As the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India very clearly says, friends, that we are not professionals. We have to engage experts, but that has to be cost effective. That has to be fair. That has to be within the limitation. All that is fine, but please do not work without a team and without an industry expert, because industry expert will give you the correct guidance, friends. One example, I will take 1 more minute, Mr. Mundada.
Yes, please.
I would share my experience here itself in this Assam company. Actually, I had to engage the archaeological survey. I had approached one university in Kolkata called Jadavpur University. And from the Jadavpur University, we had engaged an archaeological person, a geologist rather, who went to Assam, and who interacted with a person. And also I had engaged an expert from the erstwhile ONGC also, who was initially hailing from ONGC. I had engaged him. So he had actively assisted in helping me, in telling me what are all the probable oil fields and what are all the production that is possible, what is the reserve that is available over there, which had immensely helped me in interacting with various prospective resolution applicants, and which ultimately resulted in maximization of value. Therefore, please engage experts. Okay, this is fourth. Fifth is, if you feel that you are cash stressed or you are cash strapped, without any hesitation, you approach the committee of creditors. Okay, because we all know about section 28 by now. We have to approach the committee of creditors, and in their wisdom, if they fail in approving, then in that eventuality, they also don't realize the maximize the interest. Therefore, it is our duty to convince them that it is, we need funds to run the corporate data. Okay. And last but not the least, Mr. Mundada, most important part is we have to leave no stones unturned and make all endeavor to keep the concern as a going concern. And there, our expertise as chartered accountant, because even the insolvency and bankruptcy code lays down certain minimum amount of experience, to the professionals. And that experience, in my opinion, is very pivotal for a resolution professional to keep the concern as a going concern and to take quick decisions. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Very well elaborated. Very well done. The next question is, can you explain the difference between CIRP resolution and sale as a going concern in the liquidation?
It's a very relevant question, and I appreciate the person who has really asked this question, sir. It is extremely relevant and it is a very beautiful question, according to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in effect, in reality, in my opinion, because I have actually faced the situation in my period as a resolution professional, I have made some resolution as a going concern, and I have also succeeded in selling a company recently, a company last year. I sold a company which is also a fairly large company as a going concern in liquidation. Okay, so basically, if you look at our Companies Act, in the Companies Act, there is no concept of going concern for a winding up company. Okay.
Okay.
But I would really appreciate our institute. I would really appreciate the regulator also, and the proactiveness of the government in bringing this particular concept of going concern in case of liquidation. Okay. In case of liquidation, I would like to summarize the thing very shortly. I would like to tell that it is exactly one and the same. In case of liquidation, what we do, we sell the company as a going concern under the auction process. Okay, under the mode of sale, under Regulation 33, right? But in case of CIRP, we sell it, we resolve the company under the regulations of CIRP. However, there is no much difference, Mr. Mundada. Okay, the only vital difference, what I personally feel between the two is, in case of sale as a going concern, in case of liquidation, some of the processes, some of the liquidators, they feel that the entire assets is not saleable. Okay, because the corporate debtor sometimes has some assets which are not readily realizable. Okay, so therefore the liquidator is under obligation to carve out those assets separately and then hive off the entire plant, machinery along with its employees, production processing unit. So therefore, what happens in effect, the buyer is benefited more in case of liquidation. Whereas we did not have that liberty up till now. The recent amendments of 16th, I am not delving upon, but till now, we did not have that liberty to, separate the realizable part and the non-realizable part in case of CIRP. So effectively, there is no difference. We maximize the value A in liquidation also. Then we ensure that the livelihood of so many employees and the workers are also safeguarded even in liquidation, and with the benefit that the buyer need not take those part of the asset which are not readily very attractive for them to run the company. So this is my answer.
Yes, you rightly said. It is just a procedural part, in the resolution during the CIRP, it is a COC who has to give the approval for the resolution plan, and NCLT has to give a stamp on it. Whereas when it did not go through, so in the liquidation, again, for the end user, it is one of the same thing. It is a procedural difference as given in the code and the regulations.
Yes.
So the next question is, being a new person at the helm of affair of the company, RP, basically,
Yes.
how you convince such a big workforce? Because there are 26,000 people who are working there, and probably, I'm just extending this question, and I could, see that so many people, direct workforce is 26,000. Indirect, there are multiple people, multiple villages rather. So how do you convince such a big workforce?
This is an extremely relevant question, Mr. Mundada, and as you rightly, very beautifully, you expanded that question also. So here what I did was, I would straight come to the answer. In this particular corporate data, what I did was, in the first initial few weeks of taking over as a resolution professional, the first thing that I did was I appointed a tea expert. Okay, because the oil, I appointed rather the tea expert and oil expert in both the weeks. Okay. And I deputed these experts to the field, to the site. Instead of the RP himself going without understanding anything, I deputed in the first week of my taking over to the site. What they did was, they convened a meeting in the particular office or administration office of the corporate data. They convened a meeting of the local, managerial personnel who were in charge of that particular site. For example, if you take the case of a tea garden, one tea garden which was located in the Upper Assam, there one tea manager was there. So all the tea managers were convened over there, and then that tea expert took stock of the situation. Then in turn, in the second level, he also convened a meeting with a local gang leader. There is something called a gang leader, who is leader of that particular workers gang, So that is part number 2. Part number 3, cascading down further, the concurrent auditors who are there with the system. Okay, the concurrent auditors had deployed a large number of assistants who were of the local variety over there, working over there in Assam. They could interact with the local level field workers, in turn understanding as to what they do. So this was my first step. Second step, not much of production was there in oil and gas division, Mr. Dada. So therefore, I had taken only the intrinsic part of it, like what is the reserve, in order to make the COC understand, and in order to market the asset in terms of resolution applicants. So these are the 2 proactive steps I had taken in order to see that I indirectly or directly, because it's impractical that all along the Upper Assam, Middle Assam and Lower Assam I keep traveling. That is not possible. So that had happened through the team members. And above all, Mr. Mundada, we had a control team over here. We had set up a war room in the corporate data's corporate office over here, where almost 12 hours to 14 hours a day, my team member used to sit and monitor as to what is happening in the field.
Thank you very much. Very perfect. Well done, sir. The 6th question. So though it came from from the people, but is probably this question is for all. How do we take care of numerous compliances of IBBI? How do you take care of it?
Sir, actually, I would like to answer this this particular question. In an indirect way. Basically, compliances, I would rather put it objectively so that it helps every person. And also, this is a message to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Committee on Insolvency, also because they are the persons on behalf of us who are liaising with the various authorities that way. Sir, I feel personally that there are a lot of parallel compliances which can be avoided.
Okay.
So, number one, the most important part of it is you must first of all find out that what are all the compliances which are parallel in nature. Okay, so some compliances with our insolvency professional agency, some compliances with the regulator. All it is all like duplication. Okay, so you have to identify that one. That is point number one. Point number two, I strongly have a feeling that we must have a person exclusive, given the humongousness, given the volume of the compliances, etc., that we need a special person to address to this particular area, because most of the problem, most of the IPs, they tend to skip this particular area because our objective of the code, it is not their mistake, but the focus of the resolution professional remains on the objective of the ultimate objective of the code. Therefore, this area takes a backseat. But friends, let me tell you, please don't do that. That's a wrong idea. We need to have a special force to look after this compliance area. Otherwise, we are all in problem. This is most important. And number three, if at all we do not understand, friends, I think we should promptly write, address appropriate emails or appropriate emails to or talk, converse with our professional friends, understand, instead of doing a thing, complying the thing wrongly, without understanding. So I think these are the 3 steps more or less I take. But let me tell you, Mr. Mundada, I would not call myself as I am very successful in this particular aspect. I would like to be very humble in this particular aspect. So therefore, I do have my, limited amount of problems, on this. Sometimes I find that my team members have skipped this area and that area. And, it is a really challenging situation.
You are right that I think each one of us probably faced skipped some or other thing unintentionally, unplanned, and this way.
Yes.
So probably and there are many overlapping the information to IIIPI, to IBBI, to NCLT, and so many things. Probably someday something will be regularly regulated.
Yes.
Thank you. Next question. In this particular case, how you able to manage to provide such good realization to the creditors?
That is a very relevant and a very nice question. Put forward. Basically, I would like to tell very straightforward to my friends that I am really not that popular with the creditors. Because why I am telling you, Mr. Mundada, basically as a resolution professional, you have to be straightforward. You have to sometimes, you cannot say yes to everything. Although we have to finely intertwine between the commercial wisdom, as I told, between the COC and the process and the code as at large. Therefore, one mantra rather I would like to give it to my friends. That is my own personal opinion. That if you want to be, really satisfying your creditors, if you want to do that, please understand their point of view. Please understand that they are the person, they are the group who has really suffered. So we have to put ourselves probably in their place to understand their problem, and therefore, we have to address their situation, putting us in their shoes. That is what I would like to answer.
Okay, sir. The next question is very, I don't know whether you want to take it up. Who are the new management and what are their current performance?
Sir, this is probably a confidential question, which I'm barred under the insolvency.
That's the reason I started. I read this question and I said that whether it is up to you, but for our audience, for all the members, I read this and this is a bit confidential probably, so
Mr. Mundada, in addition, I would like to help the audience in telling that, they can have a look at the order, which is in public domain already. So the orders are in NCLT as well as in IBBI side. So there all the details are mentioned already. So they can have a look at that.
Yes, absolutely right. The two more questions just came at the last lot.
Sure.
How do you manage the losses? How do you manage the losses or impairment of non-core asset? What was the value of non-core asset and future plan for the successful bidder?
I would like to answer this question. This is a very logical question which we face in every CRP as well as liquidation processes. So it is good that you had put up this question to me, sir. Mr. Mundada, I would like to say in this particular case, the only probable non-core asset that I found in Assam company was that some amount of scraps that were lying, So, but I found while, going through those scraps and going through the value and going through the nitty-gritties of that particular, scrap, I found that it is improper for me to deal with it separately, like auctioning during the CARP process, because what will happen? The Assam is such a place, and the corporate data's registered office was located in such a place, which is not a very big, urban area, urban town or, big place. So therefore, even if you do something in the interest of the corporate data, in the interest of the process, probably this will come to a limelight, which will not really, if you do a cost benefit analysis, yield anything to the stakeholders. Therefore, I left it like that. This is part number one. Part number two, as I told, this oil and gas division, they're not really producing at that particular point of time. But however, it had a huge intrinsic worth. So I never classified that as a non-core, asset, and I did not address that as a non-core asset. However, in some other processes which I am already handling, Mr. Mundada, just for the sake of this person who had asked this question, there I had classified certain assets into non-core, and those non-core also I have actually auctioned them, and I have succeeded in realizing some value for the stakeholders.
Okay. The next question, probably it is my case, but it is not my question.
Okay.
And it is very painful, when the company is under Section 9 admitted, okay. So the first month you are the IRP and subsequent month you become the RP if the COC approves your renewal. Now, the constituted COC are basically a government body and OCs. So basically it is all are OCs. Now they are not contributing to the CIRP cost in spite of asking multiple time and all. Is there any provision to take care of this?
Let me understand the question properly, Mr. Mundada. You are saying that if the committee of creditors do not contribute to the CIRP cost, then what do you do?
Yes, and the committee of creditor is basically OC. They consist of OC and government body, to probably sales tax office, income tax office, and so on. Okay.
Then in that case, in my opinion, the only solution which is left is to approach the adjudicating authority and very clearly inform the adjudicating authority that this is, because you see, Mr. Mundada, the basic premise on which we all start is that we are in a fiduciary capacity. We are not de facto owners, number one. Number two, we are in a fiduciary capacity, number two. Our job is that of an administrator and we are neutral to everyone, number three. So therefore, we have to approach the adjudicating authority and inform them very promptly, saying that this is the situation, please give necessary direction to the respective authorities to release some amount for my process.
So, sir, in this case, I will extend. So even that is in my case as well. And probably after this, all the questions are over.
Yeah.
See, if there is a government body only and they are not contributing, say sales tax officer who are the 90% plus, having the voting power in the COC.
Okay.
They have not contributed and they are not. So the basic, that they are supposed to get a money towards the taxes from the corporate data. So instead of they are being gaining anything, now this CIRP started. So instead of they receive the money, now I am asking them to contribute, and knowingly that this particular process is not going to have a single rupee to them because there are no assets, the company is shut and all. So, do you think that NCLT would take care of fees and they will ask government bodies to pay?
This is a very well-laid question, Mr. Mundada. I fully agree with you, but I would like to draw a parallel of, a case, some cases where even in cases of liquidation, what happens is the financial creditors have burnt their hand. They don't expect any realization for whatever reason, whether this is business failure or this is the failure of the management, but the liquidation value is very, very, very small as compared to that of the total lending size. Okay. So there, what we do is, if you must be knowing, there what we do is we go to the stakeholders consultation committee and put forward our demand for liquidation cost. Okay.
Correct.
Also, the same feeling goes that we have put the money, we have not got anything back, but now again the liquidator is coming forward and asking me additional question. But having said that, Mr. Mundada, I would like to say very clearly that a resolution professional has to be, straightforward in telling the adjudicating authority that you need to give necessary direction to the concerned, to the government body, so that the process, because the objectives of the process is more important than the process itself. This is what I feel so. So therefore, we don't have anything else to do other than approaching them and telling them, okay, in case you do not want the process to go on, then there are provisions for early liquidation. Liquidation can be ordered early. We can again approach the adjudicating authority. But having said that, that is, in my opinion, the only reprieve. We don't have any other reprieve, sir.
Correct, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Trust me, my personal, and I said it before that, the entire case you very well put forth and very simple and straightforward manner. And I could still imagine you are first being RP to the villages to handle the unions, police complaints, cash flow management, and so on, and getting the value back to all the stakeholders. Very good. Good job done. I will hand over to Rita ma'am. Please, take over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kannan sir. Thank you, Dinesh sir. Thanks to Kannan sir for taking us through the intricacies of this case and taking us through the challenges that you faced while running the CRP of the corporate debtor. Your experience sharing and the insights which you deliberated, they have a great learning value for all of us, sir. I think Dinesh sir would also agree to it. We were all listening very patiently, carefully, each and every line of yours, sir, as a great learning experience for all of us, sir. And thanks to Dinesh sir for moderating the session and making it very live and interactive. In fact, most of the queries you have taken, sir, which Kannan sir answered very patiently based on his vast experience and vast knowledge. Thanks to both of you, sirs, on behalf of the Committee on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of ICI. Thanks to all the members for watching this very important webinar on case study. Thanks once again to both of you, sir. Thanks indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.